Hey Stitches, I'm Sam Cole, and today I thought it would be fun to do a sort of like August reading radar. I think it's kind of hard for me to set like a TBR because I'm like very much a mood reader, but there have been quite a few books that have been on my radar lately and that are on the high end of like a TBR. And so yeah, without further ado, I thought it would be fun to go through and say a little bit about them, and you guys can let me know what I should read first. Okay, first up we'll go with some that have been on my physical TBR for a little while. First up we have Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. I think pretty much everyone has already read this. The second one just came out not that long ago and I haven't heard amazing things, but this cover is like to die for, which makes me feel like I have to read it. But it's like a rom-com. My understanding is that like it's like a dual timeline type of thing. So in the past, they like had this interview or something and then they ended up falling in love, but then they like don't talk to each other and then they have to come back and do the interview again. Clearly that shows you how much I know about it, but it sounded interesting, and so yeah. Next up, we have L'Odore by Mary Shelley. I think that's how you say it. I'm probably embarrassing myself. But look at this cover, you guys. It's like absolutely breathtaking. And I loved Frankenstein, obviously. I think that sounds absolutely amazing. I loved Jane Eyre and that like type of era of like romance or just like, you know, fiction. And so, but I love Mary Shelley and I love Gothic, all of that. So I think that this could be a really fun like marriage of the two of them. The only thing is that it's like, I guess it's not that long. It's like 450 pages, but 450 pages of Mary Shelley might be a bit dense with all these other books that I'm trying to read, but definitely want to read this in the fall. Next up we have One Dark Window. My fiance and I have had this on our physical TBR for so long, and I honestly don't even know why we picked it up in the first place, but I mean, again, I'm a sucker for a beautiful cover, but everyone's been talking about it and the sequel is coming out really soon. I think in October, right? I don't know, but it sounds amazing. So, I really thought I just saw a bug. Okay. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, and it says, Lisbeth needs a monster. The monster might be her. Lisbeth Spindle needs more than luck to stay safe in the eerie, mislocked kingdom of Blunder. She needs a monster. She calls him the Nightmare, an accident, mercurial spirit trapped in her head. He protects her and he keeps her secrets. But nothing comes for free, especially magic. When Lisbeth meets a mysterious highwayman on the forest road, her life takes a drastic turn. Thrust into a world of shadow and deception, she joins a dangerous quest to cure Blunder of the dark magic infecting it. Except the highwayman just so happens to be the king's own nephew, captain of the most dangerous men in Blunder, and guilty of high treason. This sounds amazing. It's described as a gothic fantasy, which, like I said before, I'm in love with gothic anything, and so mixing gothic with fantasy sounds just up my alley and perfect for fall. And then recently I found Red Rising by Pierce Brown at my local like thrift bookstore and I had to pick it up. Everyone's talking about it. Haley Pham I think was the first one that brought it up to my knowledge that I saw, but it sounds really good. I'm not super into sci-fi, just I haven't read a ton of it. I think the only one I've really read is Ready Player One, and I loved that one, but obviously that was more like video game 80s dystopian type sci-fi, but this sounds really good. All I know is this tiny blurb on the back that says, his wife taken, his people enslaved, driven by a longing for justice and the memory of lost love, Dara will stop at nothing to bring down his enemies, even if he must become one of them to do so. Sounds good to me. I've heard, on the back it says reminiscent of the Hunger Games and Game of Thrones. I've heard it's really good even if you don't like sci-fi, if you don't reach for it, so I think I'm gonna give this a try at some point too. I'm a little intimidated by starting another series since I am in the middle of my Throne of Glass reread, so we'll see. Then, after I read The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager last month, I really wanted to read more of his, like, discography? Is that what you call it for an author? Anyway, on hand we have Lock Every Door and Home Before Dark. I know almost nothing, and I prefer to go into thrillers knowing pretty much nothing, so I don't want to read the back. I know pretty much literally nothing. I think this one has to do with like a girl staying in a hotel or something, and one of the other patrons dies, and then she gets wrapped up in like that, I think, but don't quote me on that. And then I know nothing about Home Before Dark, so I really want to read one of these, if not both, this fall. Please let me know if you've read them and what you think. My partner and I just went to Barnes & Noble not that long ago, and you know, I had to look at the buy one get one 50% off tables, and he picked up this book called The Book Eaters by Suni Dean, maybe, I think. Sorry. And it sounds amazing. Really weird, really creepy, but so good. It says, "The truth is found between the stories we're fed and the stories we hunger for. Out on the Yorkshire moors lives a secret line of people for whom books are food and retain all of the book's content after eating it. To them, spy novels are a peppery snack, romance novels are sweet and delicious. Eating a map can help them remember destinations, and children, when they misbehave, are forced to eat dry, musty pages from dictionaries. Devon is part of the family, an old and reclusive clan of book eaters. Her brothers grew up feasting on stories of valor and adventure, and Devon, like all other book eater women, is raised on a carefully curated diet of fairy tales and cautionary stories. But real life doesn't always come with happy endings, as Devon learns when her son is born with a rare and darker kind of hunger, not for books, but for human minds." That sounds amazing. Definitely getting to this if my partner does not take it from me first. I think I might steal it, but yeah, so good sounding. And then I finally took the plunge and picked up If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I have been looking at this book for so long. I pick it up pretty much every single time I go into any bookstore, but I haven't like taken the plunge and gotten it. But I've heard so many good things. I've heard mixed things, but mostly good things. But with my background in theater, and I absolutely love Shakespeare, so I think it could be really cool. That's either gonna make me like it more or less, but we'll see. I also thought it might be fun to do a bit of a like dramaturgical analysis of this and go through like what I would do as a dramaturg if this was a play that we were putting on. I don't know if anyone would be interested in that, maybe doing some sort of like video essay type thing on it. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna go through and annotate the heck out of this and maybe do some of that analysis, so let me know if you want to do that. The back says, "Enter the players. There were 7 of us then, 7 bright young things with wide, precious futures ahead of us. Until that year, we saw no farther than the books in front of our faces. On the day Oliver Marks is released from jail, the man who put them there is waiting at the door. Detective Colborne wants to know the truth, and after 10 years, Oliver is ready to tell it. A decade ago, Oliver is one of 7 young Shakespearean actors at the Dulwich Classical Conservatory, a place of keen ambition and fierce competition. In this secluded world of firelight and leather-bound books, Oliver and his friends play the same roles on stage of hero, villain, tyrant, temptress, ingenue, and extra. But in their fourth and final year, good-natured rivalries turn ugly, and on opening night, real violence invades the students' world of make-believe. In the morning, the fourth years find themselves facing their own tragedy and the greatest acting challenge yet, convincing the police, each other, and themselves that they are innocent. I think it sounds so good. I'm a sucker for Shakespeare, like I said, and the references to that, and so I think this will be a really fun read regardless of if I do the video essay or not. Next up, and we're almost finished, I promise. Next up, I just finished Queen of Shadows, right? Yeah, I just finished Queen of Shadows of my Throne of Glass reread, and so that means I'm on to the dreaded or beloved tandem read of Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. I have attempted to start this tandem read before and then got burnt out, and I got like 200 pages into Empire of Storms and 215 of Tower of Dawn. So I got kind of far, but not too far. And then I just burnt out. So since I am rereading it, I'm going to be attempting this tandem read again. I have my tabs all ready to go on both of them, and then have my little handy dandy reading guide. I'm thinking of making like my own version of it just so I can like check it off and stuff as I go, and like this one's all like messed up from when I tried to do the reread the first time, or the tandem read the first time. But I'm super excited. I'll definitely be getting to these. I think it's going to take me a long time because essentially we count this as one book, which is, well, not as one book, but you know what I mean. So it's going to take a while. It's thick, but yeah, I'm very excited to dip my toes back into that. But what I was saying, after those 200 pages, I haven't read any more of the Throne of Glass series. So I'm very excited. After that 200 pages of both, it'll be all new. So that's super exciting. And then I finally succumbed to peer pressure and decided to grab my very own copy of Magnolia Parks. Ugh. Dude, I know I'm so late to the game, but whose video was I watching? I think I was watching Rachel Catherine's videos, and she was absolutely raving about this series, and I decided I had to give it a shot. I've heard it's messy, I've heard it is problematic, I've heard it's toxic, but that's fun sometimes. I wouldn't want to be in that sort of lifestyle, but I mean, you do you. But she described it as, especially the first book, is really having like a Gossip Girl type feel, like Chuck and Blair relationship, which chef's kiss to me, honestly. So yeah, I'm super excited. I picked it up. I only read like 15 pages just because I couldn't help but start it last night. But yeah, so I will definitely be reading this very soon, if not just continue to read it. And then, last but not least for this, I got so lucky, and I put these two books on my library's like hold system like a while ago, and I honestly completely forgot about it, and then of course they both came up as available at the exact same time, and now I only have 14 days to read both of these, so let me know which one I should read first. But we have Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. If you haven't heard about these already, I don't know where you've been. They both have blown up a couple months ago now, but they sound so good. So Yellowface says, white lies, dark humor, deadly consequences. Authors June Haywood and Athena Liu were supposed to be twin rising stars, but Athena's a literary darling and June Haywood is a literally nobody. Who wants stories about basic white girls, June thinks. So when June witnesses Athena's death in a freak accident, she acts on impulse. She steals Athena's just finished masterpiece, an experimental novel about the unsung contributions of Chinese laborers during World War I. So what if June edits Athena's novel and sends it in to her agent as her own work? So what if she lets her new publisher rebrand her as Juniper Song, complete with an ambiguously ethnic author photo? Doesn't this piece of history deserve to be told, whoever the teller? That's what June claims, and the New York Times bestseller list seems to agree. But June can't get away from Athena's shadow, and emerging evidence threatens to bring June's stolen success down around her. As June races to protect her secret, she discovers exactly how far she will go to keep what she thinks she deserves. With its totally immersive first-person voice, Yellowface grapples with questions of diversity, racism, and cultural appropriation, as well as some terrifying alienation of social media. R.F. Kuang's novel is a timely, razor-sharp, and eminently readable. This sounds so good. I have been wanting to read it since it came out and just couldn't take the plunge to buy the hardback myself, but I'm super excited that this finally got into my hands. And then the last one we have is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I've heard nothing but amazing things, and again, I pick this up every single time I go into Barnes & Noble, and I just cannot convince myself to pay $28 for it. But again, super excited. Support your local library. But in this exhilarating novel, two friends, often in love but never lovers, come together as creative partners in the world of video game design, where success brings them fame, joy, tragedy, duplicity, and ultimately a kind of immortality. On a bitter cold day in the December of his junior year at Harvard, Sam Masser exits a subway car and sees, amid the hordes of people waiting on the platform, Sadie Green. He calls her name. For a moment she pretends she hasn't heard him, but then she turns and the game begins. A legendary collaboration that will launch them to stardom. These friends, intimate since childhood, borrow money, beg favors, and before even graduating college, they have created their first blockbuster, Ichigo? Overnight, the world is theirs. Not even 25 years old. Sam and Sadie are brilliant, successful, and rich, but these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California, and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of the identity, disability, failure, and the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, to love, to be loved, and to love. Yes, it is a love story, but it is not one that you have read before. Smash. This sounds so good. I have heard that it has amazing chronic illness representation, which is something that's very important to me and something that I have not really found. But I'm super excited. So yeah, that is my list of everything on my current reading radar for August and beyond. Please let me know if you have read any of the books on this list, what I should get to first, if there's anything I should add, and yeah. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!